Hey, my name is Jeremiah Knoop, and I'm one of the pastors at North Center Church in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. And I'm about to do a combination of things that I have never ever done before. I'm going to record a video of myself talking directly to those of you who are watching about the issue of politics and the church. And by the grace of God, I'm planning to do this every day that we have left leading up to the presidential election. So stay tuned for more. The question you're wondering is, why is a pastor talking about politics? And I'm really glad you asked, because that's a really important question. Years ago, I was part of a mission organization that instructed its pastors to avoid getting political at all costs. And the motive behind the mandate was good. The organization didn't want their pastors diluting the gospel or creating unnecessary stumbling blocks that might hinder people from receiving the life-changing Word of God. They emphasized the fact that our political affiliations have absolutely no bearing whatsoever on the message of salvation. And in a country that is already so politically divided, they argued that a pastor's political voice would only serve to further alienate the congregation that he had been called to serve. After all, Jesus prayed for unity. John 17, and so goes the argument. Nothing is surer to create division than political differences. So yes, it is your civil duty to vote. Just don't let anyone know what circles you colored, and don't ever talk about it from the pulpit. Ever. So the logic made sense to me. It still does. And so I wholeheartedly embraced it for years. Didn't talk about politics. Didn't let people know. But it wasn't until I began to see just how far the American political landscape had trespassed their political boundaries, venturing into the ecclesiastical pulpit, like the church's jurisdiction, and hijacking biblical morality for their own political platforms, that I began to sense a growing need for faithful pastors to get political. Churches, pastors leading the way. Let me explain. So first of all, there's the realm of politics. Politics, from the Greek, meaning affairs of the cities, is a set of activities associated with the governance of a defined area, such as the United States of America. And those who are vocationally involved in the realm of politics, politicians, they're to govern their area according to what is right and good and true. They're making decisions, they're passing laws, enacting policies based on what is best for the citizens in order to provide the greatest opportunity for human flourishing. So this would include such things as taxation, global trade, national security, infrastructure, commerce, economic development, the punishing of criminals. This is their jurisdiction, and this is the authority that was granted to human governments by the Word of God. Matthew 22, Romans chapter 13. And insofar as our politicians are drafting laws based on what is good as defined by God, then Christians are called to submit for the Lord's sake. 1 Peter chapter 2. However, it is critical for Christians to remember that the realm of politics has absolutely no jurisdiction whatsoever over the Word of God. None. Zero. And so, as soon as any government begins to enact laws and policies that are contrary to the Word of God, they have trespassed into a territory that does not belong to them. God has not granted politicians the right to reimagine the lines of good and evil. Morality is not a political issue. It's a biblical issue. Therefore, just as the ecclesiastical realm, that the church has no inherent authority to determine what is economically acceptable, likewise, the political realm, the government, has no authority to determine what is morally acceptable. So here's the point. Take the issue of abortion, which dominates so much of the current political conversation. Abortion is not fundamentally a political issue. They've made it a political issue, but it's a moral issue. It's a biblical issue, and it's an issue that God has already settled. So politicians who use this issue, abortion, as an election platform are way outside their lane. And the same is true for every other moral issue that has been pirated into the political sphere, such as marriage. That's not a political issue. It's a biblical issue. Divorce, sexual identity. That's not a political issue. It's a moral issue. A foundational biblical creation issue. Sexual orientation, childhood development, worship, the ecclesiastical gathering, and lots of et ceteras. These are biblical issues. And so, listen, a faithful Christian must speak into them. A faithful pastor, 2 Timothy 4:2, must speak into them. It's the church's jurisdiction. Insofar as the government abducts biblical issues into a political arena, the pastor who would dare to boldly speak the whole counsel of God must, in this sense, get political. Furthermore, insofar as a political party seeks to utterly abolish all sense of biblical morality from issues like abortion or human sexuality, the faithful pastor must also be willing to expose them, Ephesians 5, and actively oppose them. And though he is faithfully expositing the Word of God, that's what he's doing. He's just preaching the Bible. Nevertheless, he will inevitably be perceived as getting political. And I say, so be it. When politicians and political parties are trampling the laws of God to build their own platforms, then we must confront them, even if that runs the risk of being accused of getting political. That's the realm of politics, but there's also the realm of Christ. This is the other reason for pastors to be vocally engaged in the realm of politics. Because Christ is king over every realm on planet Earth, including politics. The boundary lines of his supremacy encompass every square inch of the universe. By the word of Christ, kingdoms rise and fall. He ordains leaders and he removes them. Daniel 2. The Bible tells us that King Jesus has all power and all authority over all things at all times and in all places. All things have been put under his feet, including secular politics. Ephesians 1:22. And he will continue to reign until the knowledge of his glory covers the earth like waters cover the sea. Habakkuk 2:14. There is not a realm on this terrestrial ball that exists outside the realm of Christ's kingdom. Marital, parental, sexual, moral, ethical, psychological, mental, educational, civil, and political. All of it belongs to him. Our nation was built on the shared belief of this supremacy, that we are one nation under God. And the local church is an outpost of the kingdom of Christ here on earth. So why is it that so many of us feel the pressing need to avoid this realm as if politics were the one place in which the light of the gospel should never shine? Why do we tiptoe around the moral issues of our day as if the inspired word of God had nothing to say? Why do we avoid political conversations as if the gospel was limited or handicapped? If Christ is king over all the earth, why is there a sphere in which the church is afraid to tread? If Christ is king, and he is, and if we are his ambassadors, and we are, then the church should feel the utmost freedom to bring the gospel to bear into every nook and cranny of the political platform. And wherever any political platform is a stage for godlessness, we must solicit the axe of Boniface and cut it down with every opportunity. We must, in this sense, church, get political.